AIF, so lossless, so it keeps the full fidelity of the file. Bring it into Audition, run the loudness standards thing that we're trying to do. You know, the -16.
That sounds good.
Run it.
Keep on going. So you're going to Audacity first. I have Adobe Audition too. I'm not really happy with Adobe lately, but I have a Mac. They had some problems on the last upgrade.
Yeah. And I just bought Adobe. I had an older copy of it for years that, from back in the day. Then I was like, I should just buy this. So I'm on the subscription. I bought the $15 subscription to Audition. And so I haven't cut over. Eventually, my goal is to come completely off Audacity and go on Audition. But knowing both's not a bad deal, especially when you do a show about podcasting. It's not a bad idea to know both. So it doesn't hurt me to stay on either side and to have processes on both, because it keeps me every week. I edit 2 podcasts through both ways, and it kind of keeps me in the know.
Now, I used to love the ducking on GarageBand, but they don't have it anymore. The new one does not have ducking.
Oh, is ducking when you take a piece and make it quieter? Is that what that is?
What you do is you run your vocal track here and your music here. Oh, and you set this to duck, and it ducks. Now you can do that in Audacity, but it's really complicated how you set it. But I don't know. Audition, I don't know if it has. I need to find a better ducking system again. What I did in Audacity, it's got some broken stuff, at least on the Mac side. They have one that has ducking built in, and it shows 3 tracks. It's got the vocals, it's got the music, and something else I forgot. It's got the mastering. But what I'm trying to do is I set up this template to make commercials, and I'm getting pretty good at commercials. And then I'm trying to hone the art of commercials. I've got one sponsor right now, Share the Oils. So
cool.
But I'm doing some other commercials, and I'm trying to figure out other ways to monetize. My wife and I are both brokers in a few states. Yeah. And
real estate, right?
Real estate brokers, right? And 25 years for my wife. I'm commercial development, land, and civil engineer. I'm an engineer, and she is residential, high end though, real high end CCRA, real high credentials. So I'm trying to focus on, can I take this show and maybe get a referral system where you select another CCRA, a high end real estate quality agents, and because it's free, it doesn't cost you anything as a consumer, and then you can pick a couple who are already vetted. So I'm playing with that. I think I'm going to do that as one of my 8 ways to monetize me.
Awesome.
But anyway, I don't want to go back to work, which I have to. My military retirement's not enough unless I.
You need to augment it some.
Yeah. So I mean, if I can do it with this, it's great. If not, I'll just go, do something else. I got other skill sets.
Right. Oh yeah.
Always do this.
Good to make a run at it and give it a try. I mean,
Welcome to Timelines, episode 162, New Year's Eve. To close out 215 on Timelines, we have Jim Collison from Omaha, Nebraska. He's the technology manager at Gallup, Omaha, but outside Gallup, we know him as the voice behind the Average Guy blog and podcast network. You'll also find him all over the podcast world and the netcast world. Because I know every Saturday morning, I 99% of the time I come in and always ask a question on Dave show, which is what is it? The podcast? I should know.
Ask the Podcast Coach.
Ask the Podcast Coach. That's a good show. I mean, that's that's a small following and that's not small. You got 42, 45 people.
We do 40 or so every week.
That's pretty good for Blab.
Yeah, it's good. The time I get to spend one-on-one with Dave Jackson is what makes it worth it. So for me, I'm an innocent bystander who just gets to podcast with Dave, and it's just a lot of fun. I look forward to that. That's one of the most fun things I do all week. And so for Saturday mornings, it's just a ton of fun to jump on and podcast with Dave.
No, I agree. Dave's a good guy. We've watched he lets you tell you what is going on in his personal world too.
Mm-hmm. He's very, very transparent, almost, sometimes painfully, but you get to know him. And in the 2 years that I've spent podcasting with him, I feel like I know him really well. We've never met personally. I've never
really.
Yeah, no, I don't get out to the podcast movement, because of my work schedule. Rarely am I able to make those events. And so I haven't been able to meet him personally. Someday I will, I'm sure, but I feel like he's a brother because he and I are cut up very, very from very similar cloth. And so it's just a lot of fun to be on the show.
Yeah, he's a good guy. In 2012, when I got back, I was going to actually start we have a real estate company. So I was going to try to figure out how can I do like a monthly interview of a top-notch real estate agent worldwide, just one a month, and put it on like a CD. I'd been gone for 5 years working in a cell on a program on military stuff. And all of a sudden I woke up when I came back and I said, wow, look at all these new toys out here. So I went on to learn the podcast and I went out there, and this is right before John Lee Dumas opened his course for like 200. I remember when he opened it for 200. And I got into Dave's course for under $100 or whatever it was. And Dave really lays it out. And I think sort of puts a real expectation out there, what you have to do to be successful. You have to get in there. You have to stay. You have to work at it. And if you're going to make any money, you apply it to what you're doing. And he still like he combines what he teaches for a profession with Microsoft products.
Yep.
And then
and I'm my podcasting stuff, I try to do it for the average guy. That's why I came up with the averageguy.tv. I felt like when it came to technology, the average guy was screwed because it was just too hard. And when I started the blog back in the 2005 is when I started the blog. There was still in the days when Windows was really difficult and nobody even knew what a Mac was. So we, for the most part. So I started these. People would come to me for help, and I like, if I write this in a blog just once, I can just share the link with these people. And then podcasting came around, and so in 07, 08, I started podcasting on somebody else's show, and then started my own in 2009, and the rest is history from there. But it was one of those things. And so Dave, what we do at Ask the Podcast Coach, as well as what I do on Home Gadget Geeks and Cyber Frontier, some of the other ones that we do, we try to make podcasts for the average guy, right? Which it's just talking to a normal person who doesn't have a degree, in some of those kinds of things. So that's kind of what we try to do in our network. It doesn't always work that way. I've surrounded myself with some pretty unaverage guys who love doing what they do. And so we get some really smart stuff. They talk way over me, Bill. I'm there for the ride.
Yeah. And I was looking at your job description where you are. I can relate to that. I had for a long time, I had 50 some odd guys working for me, and two of them were technicians, and they're really neat guys. They were CCNA qualified, and one was a reservist, but he was a civilian working for me as a contractor over in Afghanistan, helping set up the country and all that. And I was allowed to have, like in my little bungalow, I had two other people I could select. Normally you'd select like your deputy or whoever it is. And I took the CCNA guy because I loved, he could do so many things and he's so brilliant. He'd been an Air Force enlisted, became a linguist, and then got a CCA certification as a civilian, and just was really a nice guy. But it's really, you get around those geeky guys, and there's like 10 guys in the military who control the highest codes. I forgot what they call them. They're like CCNA gods or what they are. They're Cisco gods. And we protect them.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who, if something happens to them, there's like one guy in country. And he's like the only thing who can go in there and do some resets or do whatever they do with the magic.
Yeah, well, what I found with tech guys, I love tech, but I'm not the smartest tech guy in the world. But if I can surround myself with really smart ones, oftentimes they don't like to do the things that I'm good at, which is talking to people. And so, that kind of stuff, I can provide that kind of leadership and that kind of management for them, make sure things are taken care of so they don't have to worry about it. They don't want to sweat those details, and so I try to take care of those details for them. So in my management role at Gallup, although that's shifting too, I've developed internship programs, technology internship programs for Gallup.
I saw that.
So we have a college and a high school program, kind of an unprecedented high school program. I have 35 students that come on campus 6 Saturdays in the fall and 6 Saturdays in the year. We give them a winter project to work on, and we teach them in the high school level a lot about the principles of software development in an attempt to get them into a local school with scholarships. So they'll stay around and we'll work them during college. So it's possible that a student could have a 7 year internship with me if they started with me during their freshman year of high school and were able to make it through all those summers. They could do 7 internships before they even graduate from college. And not a lot of companies would allow that, and Gallup has been gracious enough to fund it and support it and let me do it. And it takes a lot to run 35 high school students, both recruiting them and bringing them in. Plus we hire 20 to 25 college students every year for the summer. And this year I have a record number. I have 13 college interns full-time, not really full-time, but they're working part-time while they're in school. They're local students who come into the office 1 or 2 days a week to work for us. So we have a pretty big internship program. I think that's the future of STEM technology and STEM workers is in interns. And so we've made a major investment in it. I'm hoping we submitted to be at South by Southwest to talk about this for next year. And so I'm hoping to be one of the speakers at South by Southwest EDU to talk about how important it is that colleges and businesses look at this internship route as a way to fix the STEM problem that we have here in America.
For those listening out there who don't know STEM, it's science, technology, engineering
and math.
Yeah, and math. There's something else coming up called STEAM.
Yeah.
They throw art in it, and it's a West Coast thing. And one of the persons who's on who I'm working with right now on Meet the Voter is Dr. Nicholas Hernandez, and he's from Chapman, and he's working the art element into it, and they're really putting a lot of effort into it.
Well, you think about graphic design.
It's
an art, right? It's just got code behind it, and so and that's one area. And we also think of, when we think of engineering and we think of building these big, beautiful buildings, they're works of art. Their foundations are engineering, but the skins are works of art. So I like the STEAM. We're still focusing on STEM either way. Our goal is to reach kids with these disciplines we're short here in the United States for workers, and really begin to bolster those programs.
I'm blessed with two girls who are straight A students, and the younger one is looking at going to something called a Red House. All our schools in Reno, we have magnet schools, and they start right in with the technology of Adobe Suites and all the elements and a lot of math right away. But it's art and math together.
Yep. Yeah. And we go right for the throat. We go right for the software development throat. So, I'm teaching these kids when they come in, not me, but the system is teaching them Visual Studio and C# and Java. So we're using these, we're going right for software development. And the more girls we can get in, the better. Oftentimes we have a couple girls' schools here in Omaha, and we target them heavily. They can do it. They just don't know they can do it. And so we give them some confidence. We tell them, you don't need to know anything. Just join us on Saturdays. And they give us 9 to 1 every Saturday for these 6 weeks in the fall, 6 in the spring. And it's amazing. One of our girls from 2 years ago, just as a sophomore, just got an internship at Google and is headed out to California to be in that. And when I met her 3 years ago, she had no intention of doing technology. And so for us, that's a success story. If you go out to the dailynebraskan.com, and maybe Rob can find this one for me, and search Maggie Wittenberg. There's a story written. They wrote a story about her doing this Google internship. And it's a great story of, I think, the effect we can have on these kids and in our STEM education and really make a change, right? We got tons of students here in America that are missing out on opportunities for great jobs because they're not getting the right STEM opportunities early enough. And so that's one of my major focuses. You think I do podcasting full time. That's part of it. But really my big focus is making sure kids are getting these opportunities through STEM.
Hey, I know we're not getting into the topics we want to get into, so I'm going to go about 4 or 5 minutes in each section longer.
Yeah.
But I want to go in real fast with working with Gallup. And I know them as political polls. And I know they're doing a lot more than polls, but what is Gallup doing these days? What do they do? Yeah,
so besides the polling, that's what you know us for. George Gallup started that in 1935, and we do that as a loss leader, right? There's when we do these polls around the world, which we do every year, we survey a representative sample of 96% of the world's population every single year. All those numbers are available at Gallup.com. There's no money in that. You can buy now a subscription to our data set. So if you were interested in all the information Gallup has gathered over time, and we have tons of it, you can, through what we call Gallup Analytics, you can buy a subscription to download that data and mash it together with some of the data that you have. So that just became available last year. So that's pretty cool. Really 5 areas that we work in, Bill. I'll just run through them quick. Selection. We help companies hire the right employee for the right job. Employee engagement. We help measure how engaged an employee is. We know the more engaged they are, the cheaper they are, the more productive they are, those kinds of things, the healthier they are, to be honest. Customer engagement, which is how tight are you to the brand, right? How's your brand doing? When we think of Starbucks, they got great brand recognition. We can measure that piece. We do books. So we sell a couple million books every year. Gallup Press is becoming a bigger and bigger. I think we'll do $15 million in books in 2015. And then we do StrengthsFinder, which is the #1 book on Amazon for both 2013, 14, and 15 of all books, not just business, but StrengthsFinder 2.0 is the #1 book on Amazon. I have to look today to make sure it's true for 2015, but it was a month ago when I looked. And so that's kind of really what we do. And StrengthsFinder is an assessment. It's for people, and it helps them discover their top 5 words, like a ranger, activator, maximizer, learner, those kinds of words. It's a framework which helps people make a better version of themselves. So we give you these top 5 things back, and we say, hey, you're good at doing these things in your job. If you point your job towards these things, you'll have more success. It's a performance management tool.
That's really good.
Wow.
I know when I was working with the Kauffman Institute on the project, I had the research team, and I know they reached into you a few times. I know for research, the PhDs and the research assistants analysis. This is overseas, reaching back.
Sure. We did some work with the government during during the war in Afghanistan, right? We actually pulled in Iraq to determine how they felt about the U.S. government presence there, 2007, 2008.
2008 to 2012, I was in that program. Mm-hmm. And we had all these different assessment people, and I learned so much. They sent me back to University of Omaha, Nebraska to go for anthropology because of your Afghanistan research selection there at the university. That's where I went to school.
Huge difference in just asking questions, right? That's what we do. I always say we're nosy, right? We ask a lot of questions. And the key is not just to ask the questions, but turn those answers into some intelligence. And that's on the ground. When we were on the ground, during the war, we could give the U.S. generals a feel for what was going on in those hot spots. And of course, we didn't do that. People think of, white Caucasian men or women going out. That's not the way it worked, right? We hire a network on the inside to help us get that done. And that's all over. All that stuff is done. We're not doing that any longer, but it was a great mission. And I think it changed. We began to see when we started polling and getting information to them in timely, we saw U.S. American deaths go down during that time as it got better, as they understood what the real threat was there. So that's a small part of what we do, the global impact that we do, and even asking questions around the world. If you're a data junkie, go to Gallup.com and go look at some of the maps and some of the data that we get. We have a happiness index that we measure. Bill, what do you think is the happiest day in America throughout the year? What do you think? What day is the happiest? I'll give you that question, and I have the answer. What do you think it is? What day are Americans the happiest?
New Year's Day?
Close. Christmas and New Year's are second and third, but Thanksgiving is number one. For the last couple of years, Thanksgiving has been the happiest day for Americans. I
totally agree with that. From when I look back with my family, that's when we have a reunion, we get together. And we had an amazing Thanksgiving this last Thanksgiving. That makes sense. Yeah,
for whatever reason, that tends to be the happiest day. We have a podcast. Frank Newport is our editor-in-chief at Gallup.com. I just started a new podcast with him. It's my favorite podcast I'm not on. And it's just Frank. It's 12 minutes. It's him talking about our data. So if you go to Spreaker and search for Gallup webcasts, you'll find one that's called Polling Matters. And it's just Frank, 12 minutes of Frank talking about our numbers. If you like that kind of stuff, you'll love this one. Check it out.
With that, we're going to go to a break. Okay, during this break, we're going to input a commercial, probably be a new commercial, one for Share the Oil and one for my wife's real estate referral business. Okay, Jim, we're coming off the break, and we're going to go into what we're supposed to do, and we're going to look back at 215 and some of the things that you think really changed 215. First of all, I'm going to ask you, did anything show up this year you didn't expect to show up?
Yeah, home automation for sure has been from a technology side. We've been talking about home automation for a long time, but the Amazon Echo has really changed the face of home automation. And a lot of people thought that'd be a sales machine. But when we think about tying the Echo to Hue lights or to Wemo remotes or to if this, then that, the Echo has had more of an impact on home automation than I think any single gadget to date. And so the surprise was that we saw the Echo early this time last year. They were taking pre-orders for it, and then you could get it in January through May for most people. It was available at Home Depot this Christmas, so there's no reason you shouldn't have one. $150 or maybe $179, I think was the sale on those. But yeah, home automation for sure. And I think now that it's getting easier, we're going to start seeing the price come down, and we're going to get better. I mean, just the other day I saw a light that has a speaker in it, and you can plug in. So you get 3 speakers in your living room. You can plug these lights in. You can control them remote control through your phone or Echo or whatever, and you can pump out music to them. And I think that's kind of the future of home automation. We think of sensors. We're going to have on Home Gadget Geeks in a week here, we're going to have the CTO and founder of Ring.com, right? This is a doorbell that records things for you and pushes it to the cloud. So 2016 for sure, I think we're going to talk about this tonight on Home Gadget Geeks, will be the year of home automation. I think for the average guy, it has always been too expensive and too hard to this point, but as 2015 changed that, and I think 2016 will be the time when the average guy can get into home automation.
So you're going to be live tonight on Blab?
Yeah, 8 p.m. Central, right here on Blab. And Home Gadget Geeks, we're going to be talking about the technologies that are changing. Last week, we looked back at 2015. This week, we're looking forward.
So that's 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific?
Yes.
Those are good times. Those are good times to do a show.
We do that every Thursday. That's kind of our normal time slot for Home Gadget Geeks.
That's very good. So driving on, that was one. What's two?
Wearables, for sure. We just talked about those here during break, but I have the Microsoft Band 2. We think about the Apple Watch. We think about the Fitbit. All of those have changed the way or make us think about now. And 2015 is the year they went big. And so we're now thinking about how to measure how many steps we take, what's our heart rate, what kind of health. And this will have health implications in the future, because if I can ship this information to my doctor, who's virtual, by the way, not a real person, but I'm shipping this information into a virtual doctor who's taking a look at my heart rate over time. They're running some kind of health algorithm that says, hey, Jim, we're noticing some things about your heart that you might want to get in to see the doctor. I think that's when wearables get really, really important. I work with a university here in town that puts sensors on older people and it measures their uprightness. I don't know how to call it anything but that. They can predict when that person starts to wobble a certain amount, they can predict a fall, which is really important, because we know when old people fall, they break hips. And when they break hips, they die quickly after that. And so if we can prevent them from falling, we can prevent them from breaking their hips, right? That whole thing. So they're doing this really cool stuff where they sew it into their clothes, and then they do some of these predictive analytics to say, hey, you might want to go watch your mother because she is starting to wobble. I know that sounds funny, but that's pretty cool. So I think 2015 was a year for wearables. We're seeing them in this state, but we're also seeing some things I think that are going to get incorporated into clothing. It's going to become a part of our life in the way we do stuff. And so I do think wearables has been another thing for 2015.
So that's good. And you get your pulse off of that, and it's accurate enough right now?
Yeah, I think it's good enough for what we're doing, right? Because when you measure it, I don't think it's accurate to it says 135 and it could be 140, right? But if it's incorrect consistently, then I can get percentages, which is what matters in some of these things. Now, if it was 25 or 30 beats off, it wouldn't be as helpful. But I think plus or minus 5% is probably good enough. And I had my trainer, I took it in, I was working out, I had him measuring my pulse on one side and I was checking it on the other. And actually we hit it dead on when he was checking it. So I thought, well, okay, good enough for that. Again, you don't want to base your health decisions off of it, but there are early warning indicators in some of these kinds of things that would help. I think the next phase of that, by the way, is wearables that will embed in our body. So we'll put things into our bloodstream that will measure, sugar and triglycerides and cholesterol and those kinds of things. Maybe 5, maybe 10 years before we're good at that. I did see a prototype of something you could insert into your, you could actually get into your veins, but I think that's next.
We have the chip for the dog, and you can go online and change your address, contact information, put things in there. If you lose it, you can actually write.
Yeah, my wife did that to me just so she can keep track of me.
Got the chip back there. I love, the iPhones. My whole family, we're on that family plan, and I can find out where everybody is. I can check where they physically are, which is nice. To check and just see where folks are, and I can log into my sisters too.
Yeah, I'm a little hesitant on some of those technologies just because there's a privacy.
Not for my family.
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah,
and we know where we are if there's something happen, or we travel, traveling a lot, things of that nature.
So that's two. You said three, right? The third one is absolutely vehicle automation. So Google has been working on this for the last 7 or 8 years. I think 2016 is a year. In 2015, we made we had the first automobile accident that was from an automated vehicle in 2015, which is super important that it failed. You only learn when you fail. And so I think we learned some things from that. And so I think it's going to get better. In the future, I think we're going to see those things where it becomes in highway assist, right? So you get on the highway, instead of turning on cruise, you're going to turn on it's going to go fully automated and watch the lines. That's a perfect example of where automation would work in the interim until we really trust it. Parking is another one, right? If I can have that thing parallel park for me, that's a great way of using it. It's low speed, it's low risk. It's one of those kinds of things that I can kind of gain control over. But I think we made big strides in vehicle automation in 2015, and I think that's one of those kinds of things that we're going to see it more and more in future models, as well as the automation inside the car, right? And as podcasters, we're concerned about this because we want to get our podcasts in the car. And today, it's still really hard to get that done. I think we're going to continue to see the building out of the entertainment units inside cars that gets better, and I think it will get easier for podcasts to get inside vehicles. So 2015 was a good year for that.
It's pretty easy now to listen to a podcast in a vehicle if you just have the basics.
Yeah, with a Bluetooth connection in your phone, super easy. But people still aren't making those connections to it all the way. We have a little bit of work to do. I think until it gets embedded and it's as easy as the radio, I don't think we're going to get there. I think we need to move that phone device from. I mean, the phone will still control things, but I think we need a phone-like device embedded in the car that's updating on Wi-Fi and some of those kinds of things. That bothers me. Why don't they just have this like a component where, because this changes every 2 years. This is a standard fix. You stick it right in your car and you run it, and it's got a car mode. Yeah,
it seems like that would be pretty easy. And then you just update your module.
The automobile industry moves very, very slow when it comes to technology, and so they're a couple years behind just because of the model year and the complexity of designing a new car. So they're always going to be a little bit behind. I do like the idea. Well, think about the iPhone. Think about the 2 connectors that we've had on the iPhone. My workout gear at work still uses the old connector, and yet I have the new iPhone. And so even that is moving so fast. There's a little hesitancy to build it into the technology when it's going to get outdated so quickly that, so there's a battle there with that on the entertainment side. I think the automation's a lot easier, and I think we're going to just see more of that coming.
Hey, did you say you started doing your blog at 95? What year?
Yeah, 90. I started writing in 95, 96 is when I started writing blogs. Yeah, off and on. And then 2007 is when I got really serious about it. And I started podcasting late 2008. I think I have to go back and look at the numbers somewhere in there. And then I took my own podcast in 2009.
The reason I asked that, I won an award in 94, 95 for my design build technology, building houses in the Sierras. And I started in 93, 94, really working hard in AutoCAD and three-dimensional design. Spent $100,000 for equipment, had an assistant working with me, had a Lantastic for a network. You ever hear Lantastic?
Yeah.
And then we went to the Exchange server, processes that evolved.
Yep.
But it's interesting how things have evolved but you said something that just hit. You said the car industry is behind the power curve. You know who's really behind the power curve is the American housing building industry. Mm-hmm. I know code changes every 3 years. It has to be adapted by your state and your city and your jurisdiction. And the code literally changes every 3 years, and then they go through a whole process of how they adapt it and what they do. And we're so restrictive at building. I was building steel stud houses, and I couldn't build them in some jurisdictions because they weren't approved to be built from the code books. Right. So we move very, very slow. If you look at our houses, they look like they're not much different than they were 100 years ago. Size of the doors are the same.
They're safer. They, in areas where there's earthquakes and fire and there's water, we've gotten better. I mean, I think the technology, when we think about how we fortified the outside of our house without it looking ugly, how we fortified the inside of the house and have made it invisible. Those kinds of things have gotten good. The technology, the gadgetry we think of hasn't made its way. The home automation industry is going to work around that by creating devices that are not dependent on being built in. So we're seeing a lot more retrofit stuff that just fits in the current mode, but you don't have to put infrastructure in to make it work. And Philips is behind this. I think Wemo is behind this. Nest certainly is behind this. So we're seeing some of these things come in where the retrofit will work, and it'll work pretty well.
The smart solution, smart houses. Yeah. But when you go back to the brick and mortar elements, you're right. We have evolved from the earthquake standards and the fire standards.
Oh, tons.
But it's been very slow. It's very, very slow.
It's hard. I mean, that stuff can't move fast. It needs to be tested, right? We need to learn and make mistakes. And some of that stuff needs to be tested to figure out, like, how do we hold a roof on during a hurricane, right? What's the right way to do that? And, you go back to the 50s in the old Indy cars, right? And those guys would race at hundreds of miles an hour, and they were like bricks. They were built to withstand the speed, but not take a crash. And now we actually build the cars to withstand the speed and absorb the crash. But it took hundreds of crashes and people dying to figure some of those things out.
I can tell you all about Simpson strong ties and trusses for roofs and hooking them down into the system and pushing them. That's what I did. I did sheer lateral design engineering to get them into the soil. Yeah. And it's pretty easy to do once you start doing it. It wasn't hard to figure out.
Right. And they got some great stuff, especially in the earthquake space. They've made light years worth of technology changes to keep houses on their foundations and keep the foundations sturdy during an earthquake. And so it's hard to retrofit all that stuff because it's so expensive.
Another area we've done well, I'm just talking about the structure, we haven't done that great, but on the we've done okay. But the other area we've done really well is on furnace and energy efficiency.
Oh yeah, tons, and insulation, right? I mean, and sealing things up so that you are keeping the heat or the cool in the house to get it done. It's caused all its own problems, right? Too tight of a house has all its own problems, and getting fresh air.
You have to have exchange air.
Yeah.
But you got to do it in the right way, in the right time of day. I mean, you don't want to do exchange air when it's 5 degrees outside,
unless you want to cool the house down.
Right. So, so real quick, we got to look ahead at what do you see for 216? What do you expect? I mean, what do you, first of all, one last question. What did you see this year that you didn't expect to see?
Oh, I didn't see Blab coming.
Bingo. That's me too. That's
to be honest with you. Didn't see this coming. And I think we as blabbers make this bigger platform than it actually is. It's still pretty small. Compared
it is. No one knows what it is.
I didn't see this coming. And we've been slowly moving some things over. I'm still going to use Hangouts for some of the stuff that I do, but it is one of those things. This was just totally blindsided me and didn't see a need for it, but there absolutely was one. So if you were to ask me, what's the surprise of 2015? Blab is it.
I do a little bit of political consulting because that's what I was doing on the side before the war. And we taught Twitter to you plan out your tweet, you put it in quotes, and the newspaper will pick it up, its official site, and put it in the newspaper that day. I think you're going to see Blab doing something like that. And now Blab as a company business, who knows what's going to happen, but the technology is there. So someone's going to pick this up and go to the next level. Hey, yeah. So let's go ahead 216 fast.
Yeah, I think 216 are battles. Let me phrase these in terms of battles when we think about what will win. So when we think about the kind of fitness wear, what the battle of who will win will make better watches. Will it be Apple Watch? Will it be Samsung and doing what their watches? Is it going to be Microsoft? There's battles going on. Do you go thin, big, round, skinny? Right? There's a battle on who will get the design right on the watch. I mentioned it earlier, but who wins in the home automation space? There are folks out there, and it's moving fast, right? Google has jumped into this now. And so, you have an old company like Philips and a new company like Google going head to head in this automation space. Augmented reality versus virtual reality. We haven't even talked about that yet, but that's going to be a battle of which is going to really, and they both have different case uses for what they're doing, but augmented and virtual, I think for the average consumer, they can't tell the difference, but there is a different battle going on between those two different technologies. I think, will it be a year that we see robots make their way into the home, right? We've talked about this, and we've had cheesy little ones, vacuum cleaners and some of those kinds of things. But the Japanese have really made some advancements in walking robots that can do some amazing things. And will we see robots come? And then I think the last one on this bill is, to the robots, where will digital assistants go? So when we think of Siri, or we think of Google Now, or we think of Cortana, and now Facebook M, where do we see the virtual assistant going, and how important will that be for us? Today, I don't think adoption of the virtual assistant is very wide. I think people still feel really weird about talking to their phone. Does that change when they talk to a robot? And so when we take the virtual assistant and we put it in a robot, will those kinds of things change when it's a physical device that has like a personality to it? And so I think those are the things when we think about 2016. Those are some things that I'm going to be watching.
Okay, with that, we're going to go to our last break. Well, Jim is tight today. I wish we have a great audience today of a bunch of folks watching, and we really wanted to open up for questions, but I know he's got to go to his next interview. He's got a busy day, but you can catch him tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific or 9 p.m. And that's on the holiday here, the last day of the year. And you can catch him tonight on blab.im. So, Jim, that's your commercial right now. How does the listener get a hold of you and throw out what you want to throw out for your commercial?
Yeah, everything I do for my own podcast starts at theaverageguy.tv. You can find me on Twitter at Jay Collison. If you want to send me an email direct, that'd be great. Jim at theaverageguy.tv. Those are all easy to remember from that standpoint. I am a part of a couple other podcast networks, though. So besides Home Gadget Geeks and Cyber Frontiers, the podcast we do at theaverageguy.tv, I join Dave Jackson every Saturday morning for Ask the Podcast Coach. I hang out with Dave McCabe. I have a lot of Daves in my life. Dave McCabe over at homeservershow.com and the Geeks Network, as well as surfacegeeks.net. So we talked about Microsoft and we talked about Home Server, a technology associated with that. And so those are the kind of the places. And of course, I podcast at work, which is a dream come true. So if you go on to Spreaker, you search for Gallup webcasts, you'll find we do 3 regular webcasts at Gallup now. And I get the opportunity. It's not my full-time job. It's more of a part-time job there that's turned into a full-time job. But I get the opportunity to podcast for Gallup as well. So I'm living the dream, Bill.
For someone that likes podcasting, that's a dream thing to do, is get paid at work to podcast. And they respect that. That means that they appreciate what you do.
Yeah, for sure. No, and it's just a great opportunity to be able to communicate to our customers via the podcast.
So we're going to finish with one last question. This is a presidential year, and we're seeing some crazy things happen. And I think there's two, in the Republican side, we've got 2 separate folks, 2 separate directions going. We've got the Bush campaign down at the bottom, which I see as running a 1980s campaign because of the people around him. And we've got Trump, and Trump has actually put some pretty good, smart tech people on. On the Democrat side, we've got Bernie Sanders running an amazing race. He had to let go his 39-year-old PhD social scientist because of what happened, but that guy was sharp. He's got an amazing campaign. And then Hillary's running a pretty good campaign too when it comes to using technology. So what do you see? There's going to be some prizes this year, but what do you see the changes in the election, the presidential election, with technology?
Yeah, I think it continues to get more social, and it's pretty social now. They've made a lot of strides since the last election, even leading up to this, but it will get more social in it, and they'll figure out the way of the pulse survey, which I don't think they have done or used as much in the past, of being able to get questions out to voters and voters that matter. This has been the problem, is in previous elections, we struggled with this at Gallup, is just tracking. Well, the cell phone changed everything when it came to polling, and it really threw a loop for a lot of people, and it's made a lot of polls inaccurate because you don't know who you're calling or how you're calling or getting to them, and there's a do not call list and some of those kinds of things. And so these social channels that these candidates are going through, they're going to have to continue to rely on feedback that they're getting through the social channels, whether it be Twitter. I'd love to see him. Nobody's bold enough to do this, but I'd love to see Bernie Sanders come up with a weekly podcast where he's just out every single week meeting the voter, right? And I know that's a big thing for you, Bill, and I'd love to see that happen. And why they can't do it yet, I don't know, but I think the candidate that gets it right will do really well. They win, I don't know. I don't think doing a podcast guarantees you win. Sure, love to see them sit down and be real out to their voters. So continued emphasis on social. I think they'll get more savvy with it. They'll get better, and they should get better. I don't think SEO matters as much for them just because of the quick hitting stuff that's going in, but and then more attention to the voter through the channels that matter. The voter that gets the millennials, I think, is the voter that wins. And so right now the millennials are not voting well. And so we need, the voter that goes out and gets those millennials to vote using these channels, I think, is the one that wins.
They're going to vote in this election. Obama got them out to vote 8 years ago. They're going to vote. I guarantee you they're going to come out. There's just too much at stake. There's too much differences. They're going to vote.
Whole new generation, though, in between that one and this one. That's the 18. The 18, those 8 years ago, they were 10 years old. And so the 18-year-olds this year, it's a whole different crew. And so it'll be interesting to see. I'm not super political, so that's the best I got. But that's what I would see going forward.
So if you had to pick one website, what website you want them to remember?
For me?
Yeah.
theaverageguy.tv.
And we'll have that on show notes at timelinesofsuccess.com or netcasting101.com. I did too. Well, thank you, Jim. Have a great new year. I'm looking forward. I'll tune in tonight. I'll see you tonight. I'll watch you tonight. It'll be fun.
Yeah,
and have a safe new year. I'm lying again. One last question. What are you doing for midnight? What are you doing for New Year's?
Nothing. I might be in bed, to be honest with you. It's one of those things. I'm not a big New Year's celebrator. And so we might stay up, we might not, but I know I'll be podcasting 8 p.m. Central to kind of end my new year, and maybe I'll still be on Blab. Who knows? Yeah, that's good. I think I might pop up on Blab myself. We're not going to go out. Oh, good for you. Thanks for having me on, Bill. Folks, we just finished up a good show with Jim Collison. That'll be on the podcast at Timelines. But I'm going to leave it on for about a half an hour longer. Well, I want to find out what the folks, there's some key people up here. Every one of these, a lot of them have been on the show. So, Mike, what are your New Year's resolutions, and what do you see this year, last year?
Well, one of the things you mentioned, this whole live stream stuff is just phenomenal. I mean, I think we're just at the baby infant stage of this. So I'm really excited about where this is going to go for me personally, and just to be part of the front wave. So I'm excited about that. And then just how many doors it can open. I mean, I've been on a number of different blabs and, meeting people I would have never met. And the platform is so neat that you can immediately get a connection. You can't hide behind anything. You can't hide behind somebody who's a good wordsmith who can, put a good text, out there trying to share your stuff. So yeah, it just really, really opens the door for immediate engagement. I mean, and it's fun. I'm going to be, Bill, I'm going to be reaching out to you later because I'm teaching my wife about this. She has some things that she wants to share, and she could potentially be a good guest for your show. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Next week I need guests. Next week.
Okay.
Actually, the week after is filled up, but I've got 4 slots next week that I need to fill.
All right.
So definitely, I'm going to try to bring people like Jim on, like quarterly, because where he works, he's working.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He's an amazing guy. A lot of guys, it takes effort to reach out there. When you go beyond in your job, he's working a full-time job and he's doing all of that podcasting.
Well, the other thing that's neat too is because this is so simple that you're more apt to get somebody like him for 5 minutes than if you schedule him out 2 weeks from now and then he has to back out.
I can't tell you how many people who are really good and they're on Blab all the time say, "Hey, why don't you come up and do the show?" It's just like Blab, and they won't schedule because it's a commitment or something like that. You're right. Yeah. In fact,
a couple today, and the people jumping in, you couldn't schedule it. You couldn't schedule it any better. I do have one political question for you because I know I don't want to get off on a politics thing, but I don't know if you've heard about the poll or whatever that Miami of Ohio does down in Oxford, Ohio.
Well, tell me about
what they do. Well, apparently, I guess since the 70s, they have been 100% accurate on the presidential election. And I read about it, and you won't believe what they're proposing here. They're proposing a Bernie Sanders versus Jeb Bush.
I study politics, and that's interesting. I can't get the Jeb Bush side, but I can definitely see the Bernie Sanders.
I can't, and they're saying and Sanders will win. I mean, so that's their prediction.
The only thing I can think of, I sort of look at the consultants. Here's how I look at politics. 2 things. I've run in a lot of races myself, and I helped a lot of people, and I really got a winning model going out in California for some people I helped at local races and certain level. And I always say, do not spend any money. Do not look like a threat. Just slowly build up, because these guys that go out in the old model and build a lot of money and look powerful, and they get targeted and stepped on. Even though they have a lot of money, but then they start spending a lot of money early on in the campaign, and then they don't have any money where it counts the last 45 days. So save all your money for the last 45 days. Yeah, and with social media, it's so cheap now to set up your basic platform to get out to the people. Have your yard signs and a targeted piece of mail to go into the houses when they get their voting material. And that's it. You keep it simple. You stay out of controversy, and then you be the good guy. Well, Jeb Bush is people he surrounded him with. He's got to fire that entire team because they are 1980s and 90s consultants. You've got to get a different.
No, I just said I found it very fascinating, and I did see something too, and I don't know how real. They said Trump's only spent like $200,000. He said he's gotten so much exposure on free stuff that he hasn't had to spend any money.
He's running the kind of campaign I would tell a local campaign to run. Exact same thing. He spent like no money. And the other thing too is he realizes he doesn't have to go out to every event by being at the right place, the right time. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not into bombing civilians after what I did in my business. Sorry. The leader can't say they're going to bomb civilians. So, that's a rule to me. And a lot of people around here love Trump. In fact, I would say I'm on the Republican side here in Northern Nevada, and I'd say it's probably 40 to 50%, maybe higher. So when I say that, people go, "Oh, you're terrible. You're like a liberal socialist or something." I'm sorry.
Anyway, I didn't want to make this into a political thing, but I've been meaning to ask you about that. And will you still have your show on Sunday, being at New Year's weekend and all that?
This Sunday, yeah, we're doing a show. I'm doing 2 shows Sunday. I doubt we're testing out a 6 p.m. Eastern launch. 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the talk show. That when we bring the panels together, I'm going to come up at 9 for just a short period of time. I don't think any consultants are coming up. I invited them. I didn't get any feedback. We're going to come up and talk about the art of politics and mechanics of politics. But thanks for asking those. Hey, let's open it up, John. Before you leave, because I don't want to be here alone. Jonathan, why don't you come in? Tell us what you think. What did you get for 216? What else do you have? 216, you see.
216.
How about business? What kind of business approaches?
Well, I think incorporating the live stream, because it's about relationships and it's about like, trust, and understanding. And I think there's very few people who are any good at being able to communicate in the other social platforms to attract an audience. And I think this is going to be a very good way to attract an audience almost overnight.
Mm-hmm. You know what I saw right away? It's bringing podcasters have been a little resistant. There's some people like Jim who early on adapted it, and he's a smart guy. But podcasters have been resistant to use this platform because it's not pure, the pure sound. But it's connecting Twitter people and social network people with podcasters. And I think you're going to see the podcasters coming over to this platform or something similar.
Well, the other thing too, and going back to the political thing, is I don't know if the millennials are into this yet, because I've met very few that know Periscope or Blab.
Hey, no one. If I said Blab out there, in fact, Rob Hicks brought it up to me yesterday, because in one of my write-up, I say I take you through Blab and say people don't know what Blab is. I think that over 40 or over 50 is catching on to Periscope and Blab more so than the millennials. At least what my little circle and what I've seen. So what are you doing with Periscope?
Well, I was doing a 5-minute show in respect to kind of insurance and life insurance and wills and trusts. So I would just have a topic. The 5 mistakes people make by not having a will would kind of be my title. I'd go in, share the content, and then I would repurpose it, because frankly, I think the 3 areas, probably the first 2 are things that people understand they need but don't want. It's, in respect to insurance, and then the legal side, wills and trusts. Third, you get into that real estate thing, which real estate being somewhat confusing to people. They may be afraid, or they don't understand, or, they think someone's trying to rip them off when they're trying to get a mortgage. So I was kind of concentrating on the first 2. So I'm looking to, that's how I was using Periscope. Now I think Blab is going to be much better a platform than Periscope.
Yeah, but still people say Periscope's a great platform.
Well, right. I could go on 5 minutes. I would keep it to 5 minutes. I'd have a topic. I would present a problem, present a solution. And then I was using a catch dot. Is it IM or IN? Catch dot. And that's where I would save my Periscopes, because if Periscope after 24 hours, if you're not saving it, it goes away. What's the weather back there? What's that?
What's the weather like for New Year's?
The weather? Well, it's unseasonably warm here. So, we're in the 40s. I was practicing with my team yesterday outside. And here it is in, almost New Year's, and we're practicing outside. So I'm loving it.
It was 5 degrees at Truckee last night. I'm 2,000 feet below Truckee in Nevada. 5 degrees.
No, we're like 12 inches under what we should be for snow at this time of year. And yeah. It's great for me who has a spring sport, who has been outside for the last 2 months. And normally we're stuck in a gym somewhere.
Yep. It's been cold here, and it's going to be cold for the next 5 to 6 days. So, well, anyway, come on, Jonathan, why don't you come up and just
right, I'm going to jump off. Hey, Happy New Year, guys. Everybody out there. I'll wait till he jumps in here.
Yeah. Anything else up? Any program? Do you have a show? Did you start your show? By the way, I've stood up about 3 people since I've been doing this last 2 years. I missed Mike's show. In fact, I think it was Jonathan. I can always blame Jonathan. I missed your show, so I'll blame Jonathan. Since he's not coming up. I missed it by about a half an hour. I realized I tried to catch it, and you're already shut it down. So are you going to start a show this year?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, and I was going to talk to you because of that three stool chair there, insurance, law, legal, wills and trusts, and real estate. So I said that was something else I was going to reach out to you about, us, doing something in those 3 arenas.
Well, I'm going to start right away. In fact, I'm going to put a commercial on. I'm looking at ways. My TS just expired, so now I can't go back and make the big bucks unless I want to get recertified, which it cost. The government paid for my last, but a private party would probably have to pay for the next one unless I went federal service, which I can still do for a while. But I'm looking at maybe monetizing by using relocation in real estate.
Yeah.
Because we have these broker's license. And what we can do, and what's really easy, is when you're moving to another city, is just give you a couple references, which we actually talk to, vet them, and we look up on their records and we look at their reputation. And my wife is like one of those type of people. She gets CRS referrals because she's been 20 years in real estate, a broker, and has all the certificates, and enough transactions. So
no, I think there's enough there. To me, the do's and don'ts. The do's and don'ts with buying a house, getting a mortgage, do's and don'ts as far as wills, trusts, those type of things, do's and don'ts in the life insurance arena, because I think they all. I mean, I get a lot of leads from people who had just purchased a home,
Mm-hmm.
and so all right, they just purchased a home, and they need the life insurance to protect the mortgage, and then my first question: do you guys have a will? And I bet 90% of them say no. We're going to get to that. And I said, let me tell you a few stories. So I got tons of stories I can tell of people who did not prepare and are now stuck in the legal system, trying to take care of something that a simple document would have done for them.
Yeah, I've got my grandparents did really well with businesses in California, Southern California, and they still have some. My parents have done well too. My uncle and my mom are still living, and then there's 5 cousins left. Well, one of them didn't have a will, and when we have partnerships, everyone has to have something hooked into those partnerships.
Sure.
So we said, at least go and take a write down on a piece of paper right now and sign it.
You can do it on a napkin,
At least do that and then copy it, certify it. But basically, it's better to go out to an attorney and put it.
For $300-$400, you're going to get it done right. I mean, you can't go into the hospital for a minor surgery without them asking. I need a copy of her living will.
Yeah. Oh, a living will. Yeah, it's like $300 or $400. And that's good. That's good in most cases. And then a trust is going to be maybe $1,000 to $1,500, depending on how much property.
Well, I said, you're probably $2,500 would be at least in the major cities. I don't know about in the outskirts, but
yeah.
Because I have an attorney I refer people to, and he does wills, which have the power of attorneys, a living will, the guardians, the executors, and all that. $300-$400, but then the trusts are usually $1,500 to $2,500. But anyways, that's when I was going to reach out, and we can have a side conversation about something around that in that arena. So
and bring specialists in those areas on, because technically we can't give advice. We can talk about those things.
Exactly.
Bring a title expert on, and I had a whole title on a house, different ways to hold title, and so I talked to a lot of attorneys, believe it or not, and some of these attorneys, I talked to one the other day.
Sure,
I know about 10 times more than he does about real estate law.
Right. Well, and I see, because you see a lot of blab. People are teaching all the techniques and the tools and the clip-ons and the all that stuff. I said let's do something that let's kind of change that direction and do something that a person can actually get off and say, you know what, I got to do that. I got to do it now.
No, it's very good. So you're not going out tonight. You're taking it easy. Your forecast.
No, as a matter of fact, we are. My daughter's into music. She has a friend who's performing here at a local restaurant. We're going to go sit and watch her perform. She performed last night, which we'll probably have that up on YouTube or somewhere in a little bit. It's loading up right now on my phone, but you were talking too about just technology. I mean, I took my iPhone. I got the little teeny mic that I had attached to it. I mean, the lighting was perfect. The sound was perfect. And I bring it in, and I carry in this little bag here. I mean, here's my traveling sound system,
So pull it out. Let me see your mic. What are you using?
It is, wait a minute. I got it. Let's see if it's a,
I can't find my Rode mic.
This is what I'm using here. If that has the model number on it there. Yeah, I think there is a model number. Yeah. This works great. I plug it in to the bottom of my, I'll put that up there again if everyone can see it. Now, see, I'm looking at it. It's backwards to me. Do you see it backwards?
Yeah, it's good. It's right.
Okay. So,
read the name. I know you live right there by.
I got it from Audio Technica. So, yeah,
I'll have to visit you. Come fly in there for a day when you have that.
So, very simple. I don't know if you can see I'm going to put that up there again. Oop, there you go. So there's the model number. It's Audio Technica, and just plugs into the bottom of my phone. I took the. Let's see. Let me get it out. Let me get all my. So I had one of these that I hooked my phone up to. I just propped this in front of the girls. Yep.
It's a must.
And I just put this near their mic stand, and the sound just came out perfect. It wasn't tinny. I mean, it gives you plenty of wire. I think I got this thing for like $15 at the warehouse sale at Audio Technica, and it just plugs into the bottom of my phone.
Let me show you what's really neat. You got this little thing here just to stand and move around.
Yep.
But you take this off, and you can screw this into a tripod on the bottom. So you can set up like a real estate agent tripod. And then the absolute best mic is the Rode mic right here. This is the absolute best for an iPhone. It's a Rode mic. It's expensive. It's $80. But what I did, here's I monetize now, my capitalist bill. That's a Netcasting 101. I've got a list of those products, but I'm still adding other lists and other things that I've developed. Everyone who starts a website might as well get an Amazon account and just put up the products that they use, like, and trust. And it doesn't cost anything more, but you're providing a service, so you might as well get a little something back from it.
And then the other thing too, this was the little Bluetooth, so I could I could start and stop my phone. I didn't have to be standing right there.
Let me ask you a question on that. I got one too. I just got that right here. How hard is that to program into your phone?
It was simple as can be. I just went and made sure my Bluetooth was turned on.
So you just turn Bluetooth on, it picks it up, and you say
and mine is camera 360. It says on here, iOS.
Every real estate agent, Jonathan, listen to this. Every real estate agent, Jonathan's up there. We do the Mail Right Real Estate Show. Should probably have one of these, a little tripod, and the day before they do the real estate open house, they should probably stand outside, do a little clip, and then talk on your mic, and then slowly turn the street up around the neighborhood so they can see how to get here. Maybe throw a map on it, and then put up a YouTube, hook it into Google Plus. You're going to get some great SEO out of it.
No, you absolutely want. Yeah, if you're going to do any recording, at least what I found, you want that mic, because without it, you have that tunnel tinny sound. Yeah. Especially if you're pointing the phone away from you. And then
the other thing too is with this, you can buy a little package right here, and I think it's Bluetooth. And you can plug it in now and then hook it up so you can go remote too. You can get some distance on you.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I looked at those, but I haven't needed it because what I'm doing, this cord is like 20 feet long. So,
hey, this is what I got yesterday in the mail for $20, $10 a piece. I have ways to make you talk. This thing is bright, man. It blinds me. Watch this. I can or put it back there. This thing is so bright.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Well, that was the other thing. I have the lighting. I got a set. Again, I got it on Amazon, and I got two of them. I haven't needed both of them because my lighting is okay without the other one. But it's right here in front of me, in front of my desk, and it cost me, I think it was like $64 or something for two of the. Here,
I've got a lighting umbrella kit on my link, and it's the DK3B, and it's under $50, and it's amazing. The umbrella kits.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can see it. I mean, it's just sitting there right there in front of me, and it might be less. I mean, when I bought it, I bought two of them because they were saying you want one left, one right, and one behind you. Well, I found this one for my purposes right in front of me works fine, so I've only needed one.
The only place I go these days for shopping, this is really bad. Sometimes I go to Rayleigh's down the block. It's a block away, 2 blocks away. I'll go to Costco's.
Yeah,
and get the free food with my daughters.
Yeah.
We'll buy our big, but other than that, I order almost everything online now.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. No,
I mean, literally you save gas, time, and money.
Yep.
And I read the reviews. I talk to people online who have actually used the product and say what's good and what's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ATR 2100, I got to send those back in because I had 2 really bad ATRs. They were a couple of years ago, but the new ones, they fixed that problem. The one I'd probably recommend now is that new, it's the 2005, which is black like the ATR, and then they got the new one that you bought.
Yeah, I got the ATR. Yeah, you saw it, 3350.
What is it?
3350 is the one I have here.
Is that what you're using right now?
Not right now. That was the what I used last night to hook up to my phone. All this.
Are you using the Blue Yeti?
No, I have the 2500, the Audio Technica.
Oh yeah. I didn't think you were using the Blue Yeti.
No, that's this is the one I just picked up because I have, and I would tell people, I mean, the 2500 and I did use the 2100, ATR 2100, but
that's a good one. Let me give you a lesson right now, that 2500. You're doing it right. I want to explain to folks out here. I hate to hear breathing. And what happens when I put it through my process of sound to make sound rich and normalized and sound good in iTunes, if there's a lot of breathing, it's a lot of work for me. I've got a system on here that cuts out my breathing and noise gate. It's very expensive and you can screw it up. What you're doing now, see the distance you're back? You've got your gain turned up and you're back far enough where I can't hear your breathing, but I get your sound. So yeah, how far is that?
There you go.
6 to 8 inches. Yeah. Yep. So you found the sweet spot where I can't hear your breathing. That's where you want to be, 6 to 8 inches, the sweet spot. Also, you can put things like, you don't have a pop filter on it yet. Or
no, I do not. No.
That helps. So you sound pretty rich. This will make it a little bit more rich.
Okay.
The other thing too to add maybe is a mixer down the road, a USB mixer, a small one, when you start playing, because then you can really adjust your sound. And I'm experimenting also with the Scarlett 2i2 this year. What I was going to do is I was going to bring my other. I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring. Have you done this with your iPhone?
Jonathan must have tuned in and walked away because I see him up there.
He's probably listening. You know what people are doing, and I do it too. I'm finding myself doing this more and more. I'll tune into Blab, turn up the speakers. My daughter's got some nice speakers, and they've got 2 of them. So I'll steal one of their speakers, and I can blast that through the entire house. Well,
that's why I was looking at that. What you showed that the tube. What was that called? I was looking at that, and you showed it when you were talking to your guest there earlier, to Jim, the thing from Amazon.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and I thought it was more for kind of there we. No,
there's the 35. There's what you have.
Right.
I'm gonna put that up there. You think that's the best mic now for podcasting?
Who does?
Your mic. Do you think that's the best mic?
Well, I can only speak from what people are telling me, and I liked it because I could turn it sideways so I could get it closer to me because like it's balancing on my keyboard here. So,
Jim and I didn't talk much about Blab. Oops. The key here is when you turn on this is to silence. I'm trying to silence. It's not silencing. Oh. You got to turn down your phone so you can't hear it. And then when you come on, watch, I'm going to come on board, and I got to make sure that I block my sound here. And my touch tone's not working. There it goes. I muted it. So you got to have this muted. So you got to do that ahead of time. So you got to mute this so you can see what my setup looks like here today.
Oh, okay. I mean, just look at this. This is it just blows my mind. I mean, before you couldn't do this. It'd be a whole day of production to do something like this, and you just did it in 5 seconds.
And that's a $10 LED light, which will last forever.
Uh-huh.
There's the Scarlett. There's the Joss. This is I'm using Boss Jock experimenting with sound. See, that's the lure. That's like a mouse. It's the call for Jonathan. I'm giving him a hard time. Let's just blame Jonathan. He's English, so I can do that. No, he's gonna get mad at me.
So I don't know. It looks like we got a few people that bounced off here, but change subject here. Who's going to win the 2 football games today? So we got some Crimson Tide fans out there. We got some. We have some Clemson fans out there. We got some. Who else is playing there? We got Michigan
Reno
State.
Won their bowl game. Yep, it'll be good. Reno won their bowl game. So yeah, it's
people were happy around here. Akron University, after so many years of 1-win seasons, won a bowl game. So
yeah, a lot of football. It'll be interesting to see what happens in sports. On a side note, football concussion and smart technology. It seems like they could come up with a helmet that would protect from concussion.
Well, I don't know. That movie's out, and people are saying, "Hey, just because you watch that movie doesn't make you an expert." But I haven't seen it yet. I'll be curious because I remember going through that. I can specifically think of times as a high school player in football having a concussion, and literally the old put up the 3 fingers. Yeah, I can see them. All right, you're good to play.
I started every game my senior year, and I remember one time where it was a goal line stand. It was free safety. I was seeing stars on circles like this. The play's getting ready. Yeah, I hit hard. I came up and stopped a guy right in the line, and I saw stars going around and sitting there, seeing the stars. That happened a few times.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's and I think about that. It couldn't be good for your brain to do that.
Well, I know there's a push in this area here to get kids to play a flag as a younger age because having been a football coach, I think it's ridiculous at the age that they're starting kids playing tackle football.
I'm small, but I played junior All-American when I was little, and I stopped growing about 8th grade. But without that, I could never have played my level of high school football without General American.
But the point they're saying here is, one, just because of the concussion issues, and two, you got these little kids, and there's still only 2 or 3 kids that are actually involved in the game, even though there's 11 of them on the field, because of just the nature of their inability to understand the game. And so they get bored. So I don't know. I tell people, I said, hey, don't start your kid till 5th grade, but they're so paranoid that if they don't start them as 8 or 9-year-olds, that they're going to lose out. When I can point out countless situations, a high percentage of those 8 or 9-year-olds never even see the high school field because they're just tired of it.
That happens in wrestling too.
Yeah.
That happens in wrestling. There definitely can start too soon. There's in anything, and it depends on the kid and the personality.
Well, no, yeah, it's not across the board, but now you talk about the helmet things. I mean, I think high school, because I was talking to the coach, I think they spend about $300 per helmet.
Hey, Jonathan is so right. He says, Bill, you need to work on your course. That's one. And two, I'm going to talk about me in 215. I'm talking about the helmets. Where I failed in 215 was the course. I was going to build a course this year, and there's so much to building a course and to getting it right. And I've got some pretty good technology. But if I'd spent as much time building the course or doing like a couple hours a day of just building online training and getting really good at it, I'd probably do pretty darn well. So I need to spend at least 2 solid hours of nothing but working on that technology. And I use something called ScreenFlow. So if I would do that, I would do well. I do have a commitment. I'm going to try to make this daily show work as long as I can. Ideally, this is how I really get good. If I can't make a show, when do you guys come up and do it? At 9 o'clock on Sunday as a guest. 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock during the workday. You have the availability to do that if I schedule it ahead of time. And just download it. Because I can download it off of YouTube. I have to build a channel. I'm trying to think how I'd do that, how I would set that up to do a show like that. Podcasting would be no problem because you just send me just forward me the email and I could download the MP3 and the MP4. That's all you have to do.
Hey, Bill, Bill, you should change the title to Just Sitting Around Bullshitting. So,
yeah, I don't want to change it because it's a hassle. But that's for me. I want to build that course. I want to have one of the courses done today. I do have the system to get paid though set up. You can pay me. I get that working. So, hey, Mike, you have a webpage, right? Put your webpage up there for the end of the year. That's your contact information.
All right.
And I'm going to stop recording. All right, Jessica came up. Hi, Jessica. Or Jesse Lane, excuse me. Let's see, Jesse Lane. You know what I like is this connects into, okay. So she's gone. She didn't make it.
It's cool. So, the other thing that's cool about this, when you put links in there, like here, in case I typed it, backwards, I checked it, and you can see it opens right away. So, I mean, you can.
Yeah, you check your link.
Anytime you put a link, I mean, it's just fabulous. The back end abilities that this platform gives you to get your stuff out there. What do you think of the little map there? I mean, do you think that's wasted real estate, or,
they're trying all sorts of stuff. The more they try, the better, as long as I can get good sound. That's the most important thing. For me, by the way, if I had to tell Blab anything, I want sound is most important. That's why this picture, I'm not worried about the 480. It's funny to hear podcasters complain, oh, they have that 480 picture. Well, podcasters aren't into video. But it's the user interface, the ease, and the connectivity of a whole group of new people.
Speaking of that, this was something that I've heard now a couple of times because you got a lot of people out there. Their show is how to do Blab. And somebody was talking to somebody at Blab, and the people at Blab say, don't waste time teaching people how to use Blab. Their whole purpose for this was to have engagement on other topics and things of interest to people, So I thought I
think it's so interesting to learn how to use Blab better. I mean, I go in and study it still, trying to figure out better ways. I play around with the sound waves when they come out. I talk to Jim about the process he uses to process the show because he's taking Blab like me. He's putting it up on YouTube, and he's also putting it on iTunes. So he's doing all three. So I'm trying to figure out how to streamline that. Well, it's 10:30 right now. I always try to be off by 10:45, but I think we'll round it up in about 3 more minutes. And I'm going to come up on Jim's show this evening. He's up at 6 o'clock Pacific. It's a pretty good show. I would encourage everyone to follow Jim. He is
Go ahead.
He's one of my favorites online in the podcasting industry.
He was an interesting guy. I mean, I see Rob here. I'll jump off if Rob will jump in. I don't want to leave you there for the last couple of minutes.
I don't know what Rob is up to today. I'd like to talk to him, though. Hey, by the way, thank you, Rob. If you'll notice, we have new artwork. Oh, he's coming up. You never know. Maybe they're in their underwear. Or there he is.
Yeah.
Oh, there's your wife. Say hi to your wife. Hi, your kids.
Rob is black and white today.
I tried to get my wife on yesterday. She just got back from Pilates in the gym, and she looked really nice. I like that.
Uh-huh.
My wife had her sweats on, or she's red hair, and she's pretty good shape. She's doing better. I like she's older as she gets, she's getting in better shape all the time. When I met her, she's an athlete.
Is she in ears distance right now?
I don't know where she is. She's not listening. She's not a big social media listener person. I used to call her the secret agent in real estate. She did a lot of real estate, but it was all built on relationships, built over a period of time. And she didn't have to do any social media or anything. She just had clients and families, things of that nature. But now she has to because we moved out of Modesto. But what are you up to today?
Who, me or Mike?
You, yeah. I got another 10, 15 minutes. What's your resolutions?
Oh man, I haven't even thought that far ahead. I wrapped up your logo last night. Got
like your daughter. It's good entertainment. She's doing good.
What was she doing?
She was dancing back there. Thanks for the logos. There's a discussion. Should you put I say art up, or should you? Is Blab cover? I call it cover art. Is Blab calling it something else?
Are you talking about the artwork in the comments or the artwork on the show?
Artwork in the show. You had a name for it. It's not cover art. I call it cover art.
Show card?
Show card. Is that what Blab is calling it? Show card?
I think Blab calls them show cards, and then on the side we call them comment cards.
Comment cards, yeah. So if you were to ask Blab for two things, what would you want for 2016?
I would say to keep them to just.
That's a Cam Twist special right there. It looks like.
Yeah. I mean, I like it the way it is. I know that they're talking about adding YouTube functionality and stuff like that. Hey, Scott.
Oh, there he is.
But I think the best way to do it is just to drive two Twitter accounts. So if you want to do people and content, then make yourself, one Twitter account on a camera, and then make your presentation the second Twitter account, and just drive them side by side. Because the benefit is when you go to the YouTube recording, they get stitched side by side, just like in video conferencing.
So, but the problem is you'd have to buy I guess a PC is the thing to use on the other account. Then you can drive slides into it.
I wouldn't say people having two PCs is that uncommon.
No, I've got PCs at the wazoo. I just put 10 in. Yeah, I'm going to shut my blind here because the sun's coming in. It's snow outside and it's beautiful, but I'm going to shut the blind.
Cool. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, Scott.
I
like your background.
Hey, thanks. I decided to throw that up. I don't know. Are you guys getting an echo, or is it just me?
No,
it's not really echoey. It's just real. It's just real bright.
No echo.
Down a little bit.
We did the show so far. I haven't heard one echo yet.
Yeah, maybe it's just my headset.
I'm getting a little.
What kind of Air Force? What did you do in the Air Force?
Air Force. I was when I was in the Army. I was a 63 Golf Fuel and Electrical Specialist, and then when I went in the Air Force, I joined and I went into a crew chief C-130s.
You go to Air National Guard or Reserve?
Yeah, Air National Guard, Delaware Guard. I did a tour over in Korea and all that fun stuff, and then I came back stateside. Actually, a friend of mine, I started with basic training and AIT and all that fun stuff. He's now actually a first sergeant in the Air Force, which is kind of funny because we both came stateside after being overseas. He went to one post and I went another, and lost touch. And then Facebook, we touched base on Facebook. I kind of was just getting into Facebook, and he was getting kind of into Facebook. Facebook is for the old people like myself and not the young hipsters that are all on Snapchat. And that's kind of what Blab is becoming, is the old people know how to easily use this and navigate it. So that's what Blab is becoming, a way for us to communicate. And whereas Snapchat is for the younger kids. That's what my sons and all my kids are doing, Snapchat. Dad, you got to be on Snapchat. I don't want to have that many pictures of me out there with different looks. So I kind of stay away from it. Where I can control the background.
How old are your kids?
I've got a 21-year-old all the way down to a 10 coming up on 11. So
I've heard Snapchat is sort of approaching that 18, 19, 20 area.
Yeah. It's a new era. I mean, I've kind of graduated through the whole thing, with my daughter, the Facebooking and then Twitter is really new to me. I mean, gosh, I think I've got 4 followers on Twitter. This is all completely new to me. Twitter was kind of like one of the last things I was trying to handle because, I didn't really understand it. I was like, what are we going to do? Post some stuff on. You have to have these @ symbols and you have to have this and you have to have that hashtags. So, I'm starting to get the hang of it and start to understand it a little bit more, especially where I work. We're in that new age. I mean, I work at a college and I came from running my own company for 20 years. And the college asked me to come and join their team. And so I sold the company and went to work for the college and hoping that I could have more of a home life, spending, because my daughter's 21 and we've only had 5 family vacations her entire life. And we've taken 2 the last 2 years, because I've been at the college for now a couple of years. So it's actually been pretty decent.
Scott, I'm surprised that Bill hasn't mugged you, because when you said Hillsdale College, he should have been like all over you. He's got a show on Sundays called Meet the Voter.
Yeah. I mean, I like to get some people on for Meet the Voter, and I'd love to have you on too. What did you do in business before you went to work for the college?
I started out back in the day. I started out after I got out of the service. Before actually I even went into service, I was doing concert audio and video. We did shows with Pat Benatar, Bon Jovi. I did set up lighting and set up sound, and got out of it. And then when I got out of the military, I kind of started my own thing again, and I opened up a small cell phone store. This is when cell phones were just starting with Century Tel and with what is it, Cellular One? It was, but then
the Motorola StarTex.
Yeah, the old crap. I mean, this was way back in the day, and then I got into Nextel when it was the old lingos, the old the things you carry on your hip around. They're like a big walkie-talkie. So I started out in that, and then I got into satellite, and this was when Dish Network first started going. Into I think when I started with them, they had 600 customers. It was like tiny, and I grew with them pretty good size. You bring up their webpage.
No, I wish I could see this. This is my wife's business account, really important, Google Plus Professional. It says, pardon interruption, your trial has ended. Because he has it's okay because it's a Google Plus Professional. It's amazing. For $50, it's the best $50 you can invest. But they give you 30 days free, and then you just pay them and it'll come back. But I've got to fix this right away while you work. So keep on going. I'll work on this.
Scott, you did the Dish Network thing versus DirecTV?
I did Dish. I started with Dish, but I ended with DirecTV as the second largest contractor in the Midwest for them.
Oh, wow.
And we were all the way the contract before I was getting ready to start with the college was, they wanted me to take over Baton Rouge, Houston, Davenport, Iowa, Mifflinburg, Pennsylvania. I flew out to all these locations. I mean, I was up to 55 trucks. And in just Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana. And, I flew out to these locations to look at them, and it was going to be a pretty good size deal. I did Dr. Earn, who is the president of the college. I did some work in his house. DirecTV asked me to take care of his house because they just didn't feel confident they could handle it. And I went and took care of his house, and he approached me, I didn't take the college job because of the pay, because I took a big pay cut coming here. I took the college job because it was stuff that I like to do again, and getting back into, once I got into that DirecTV world, you're kind of in that DirecTV world. You're in that satellite, going to people's house, and, you're not getting out and doing wiring jobs. You're not doing concerts a whole lot anymore. You're not DJing on the side for fun. And you're kind of in that realm, and they want you there. I mean, great. I just got served 2 papers. Well, yeah, I just got served 2 papers. DirecTV's in a class action lawsuit right now for non-payment of contractors, and I've been fighting that one for years of getting paid for jobs that we did. But I guess I just got served papers a couple days ago, and they're finally moving forward with this lawsuit. But we'll see what happens, comes out of that. Maybe I'll get some money. Maybe I won't. The money that's owed to us. But the whole satellite world is a gray. It's not like Comcast and AT&T and all that, because it's not governed by the United States. It's not governed by the government. It's one of the few communications industries that's not governed. The SBCA, which is the Satellite Broadcasting Communications Association, lobbies heavily in DC to stay out of it. Mm-hmm. And we'll police our own. But all the meanwhile, like if I was to go to your house and let's say I did a upgrade, you wanted to upgrade at your house, and we did put a receiver in at the kitchen there. And, DirecTV might pay us $30, $35. I might pay by tech. I usually made $5 on an upgrade. It wasn't anything magical, so we didn't like doing them. But we did them as part of the job. So we went out to your house. We did that job, got paid $30, $35, whatever it was. And let's say your wife called because she didn't understand how to turn on the TV to HDMI 1 or some simple little thing that maybe she just got. It was I got on channel 3.
Right.
Well, they would charge us back a $50 service call for service within 7. So, heck, you're now in the negative, not to mention your cable, your time, your gas, everything that you had into it. You're in the hole. And that's how they operate. They operate off of the backs and sweat of contractors. And, you couldn't take off. I mean, heck, we gave my company off. I took off a tour for a company retreat. I took the entire company. We'd go to Cedar Point in Ohio or something like that, or we'd go maybe just go to the lake and have a big cookout for everybody. But that was tough to take off. But I was so big that I just was like, we're taking a weekend off. I need a weekend, let my company regroup and kind of catch some, get some R&R and spend some family time and quality time. But other than that, you got New Year's Day, Christmas Day, and 4th of July. Those are the 3 days you got off a year, and that was it. So right now I'm loving it. I'm on a 4-day vacation again. Because I'm off for the college. We shut down yesterday. Was our last day for the year, and then I got vacation built up. So I got 6 weeks vacation. So I'm taking off another week next week. I'm taking off. So I'm taking off. I don't go back to the college till. Heck, I think the 13th is when I'm going back, and the students come back on the 20th. So
yeah,
it's great.
That's Hillsdale, right?
Yeah, Hillsdale College. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So I've been there 2 years now. They're coming up on 2 years. January 2nd, I'll be there 2 years. So it's been it's been a lot of fun. I've opened a lot of eyes to the college because they were used to always contracting out, and my partner, he does most of the filming for the college. We've now the department I was in was called the Media Services, still called Media Services, but it's now split. I'm in charge of the AV side of things, construction. We're getting ready to build this $30 million chapel right on campus, which is this unbelievable chapel. I just finished up 2 other projects, or actually 27 other projects, but 2 main projects. So we built a great big new banquet facility and redid our sports complex. But the chapel is going to be the first in I don't know how many years in the United States of this kind of magnitude. I mean, it's just like I met the architect about 8 months now, 9 months. It's these huge arches. It's this beautiful new building. It's be taken over by the center. And what the purpose of that is let's say you're having a larger dance call. We're actually getting ready to start developing I've got my team going to start working on like all the DVD videos and workout videos. So if you want to go in there and work out yourself, you don't want to have a trainer go in there. Just throw in an impromptu thing, and you can have a yoga or whatever. We can select on the computer touchpad of what you want to work out to, what you'll need, and how long the workout is. And if it's a small class, maybe it starts out small with 5, 6, 7 kids, and the next thing it'll grow into 20 or 30. They can open up those air walls, and it'll take over the other 2 TVs so they can follow along with what's going on. We have headsets in there, the new Shure headsets. And so, yeah, Crestron. I mean, I'm a supporter of Crestron too. I thought it was great. I looked at Crestron. I looked at Extron, and we want to. Gosh, who else did I look at?
AMX.
AMX. Thank you. And I thought Extron gave me the best support. I mean, I tell you what, they are really on their game.
For sure. Extron definitely has the industry's best support. I think it's kind of a bummer because Crestron, I think, has better technology, particularly in the digital media realm.
Yeah.
But you're right. Support Extron is just they've always been amazing. They always answer the phone. They always call you back. They just, but if you need bleeding edge or cutting edge, Extron just, unfortunately, they're not making sales like they used to anymore. And they're just, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they're around in say 5-6 years. I mean, I absolutely hope they are, because they build just refrigerator style products that never fail.
They just they run like, I mean, my stuff just never fails. It's been on there, and we've got it all over a few other places on campus. I mean, the original, before I got there, they were using some old SP control stuff, which is really chintzy and basic, and it was just crapping out. And I'm like, we can't operate with this. I mean, that's for the use that we're doing. But see, the problem is the college, when I got there, the college is and that's a lot of colleges. I mean, I talked to friends of mine, they're engineers at other colleges. Jackson College is a friend of mine. I was talking to him, Michael, and then I went up to Ferris State actually over the summer, and I was chatting with those guys up there and seeing what they had. And, some of them were using AMX, some of them were using Crestron. Most of them are going to Extron, though, because it's just such a workhorse and it just doesn't fail. And the customer support, you call them up, and I mean, I was supposed to go out there, flying me out to Anaheim. Oh gosh, I missed the appointment because I had another event come up that I couldn't get out of. We had to do the event, but yeah, they fly you out, they take care of you, they give you the training that you need, and they kind of tailor your training around you, so you can get the what you need to do. And the ones that I go to are like the what they call the higher education courses, where it's not like retailers mixing in. Yeah, it's where it's not. It doesn't have retailers mixed in there, because they're like, well, we want to have the higher education separate, because that way you're not getting bombarded with people trying to give you their business card the whole time you're there. You know what I mean? And I've been to those trainers. I was at those trainers, for ISF and Dolby training and calibration and all that stuff. So, are
you going to be at InfoComm this year?
I want to. I don't know if I'll be able to go to the January one. I think I'm going to be looking at the summer.
Yeah, that's the one I'll be going. You're saying CES is.
Oh, CES is in January. Yeah, when is July? July. Yeah, that's when I'm trying to go. Yeah, July is the one I'm planning to go into, because, and that's what I told my boss, who's a VP of the college. I said, look, these are the shows that I need to go. I spend a ridiculous amount of money at the college buying all this technology. Because we are in our growth phases right now. And, I should be going to these conferences because I can do a ton of research, and you're asking me to do stuff that I haven't done for several years, because I was on that, like I said, that direct TV world. So what's important is that I get out there and experience. I can do all the research. And I spend, even buying the LED walls, from Elation, gosh, I went around and around. I was looking at the EV6 panels before I bought the EV4 panels, which has the 4mm pixel pitch on them. But I spent probably 2-3 weeks just researching the different styles of panels, going between Elation and going to ADJs and looking at their stuff, and then looking at oh gosh, that's the other one out there. I'm trying to think of the company right now. It's off the tip of my tongue here. But anyways, I looked at their stuff. I looked at like 8 or 9 different products, not including the digital monitors out there that, you see on TV. A lot of times they'll have the bezel. You'll see the light, thin bezel. It's like a commercial TV for digital displays. And you can interlock them. I even looked at those. I'm like, well, I don't want to see squares and corners and edges in my screen. So we wanted to put these things up for the new banquet hall we just did. And I said, well, let's say Dr. Arn wants to always move around. He likes to sometimes move to in front of the windows, or he wants to have it outside, or who knows where he wants to go. Or if we put projection, if I put these 2 Epson projectors in, these Epson projectors they start out for the 15,000 lumen or 20,000 lumen. They're $15,000-$20,000. Then you got to power them down from a 22-foot ceiling up there. So you're going to need a heavy-duty projector lift. So we're talking another $6,000-$7,000.